Our planet's rivers and lakes are teeming with life, and among their most successful inhabitants are the freshwater fish. Did you know that some fish can hear with remarkable sensitivity, almost as if they have hidden ears? For a very long time, the story of how these creatures came to dominate the world's freshwater realms was a puzzle with many missing pieces. Fossils, the stony remnants of ancient life, offer us glimpses into this deep history. But some of the most important clues are incredibly small and fragile, easily lost to the ages. These are not the grand skeletons of dinosaurs, but tiny, intricate bones that tell a story of sound and survival. The secret to this extraordinary hearing lies in a special structure called the Weberian apparatus. It is a chain of tiny, interconnected bones. These bones link the fish's swim bladder, an internal gas-filled sac, directly to its inner ear. When sound waves travel through the water, they cause the swim bladder to vibrate, much like the surface of a drum. The Weberian apparatus then acts like a sophisticated amplifier, transmitting these vibrations with great precision to the ear. This allows the fish to hear a much wider range of sounds and at much lower volumes than other fish, giving it a distinct advantage in its environment. For many years, scientists believed a simple story about how these fish, known as autophysons, came to be. The traditional view was that their marine ancestors first developed this advanced hearing system while still living in the vast open ocean. Only after perfecting this auditory superpower did they venture into the continents, using their sensitive hearing to navigate and thrive in the murkier, more complex environments of rivers and lakes. This idea made logical sense. It painted a picture of a group of animals arriving fully equipped for the challenges that awaited them in their new freshwater homes. A tale of careful preparation before a great migration. This long-held theory suggested a single major event. A group of ocean-dwelling fish, already possessing the Weberian apparatus, made a successful leap into freshwater habitats. From this one successful invasion, they diversified and spread, eventually giving rise to the thousands of species we see today, from the tiny minnow to the giant catfish. It was a neat and tidy explanation for the incredible success of this group. The story suggested that the key innovation, the sensitive hearing, was an oceanic invention. But nature, as we are constantly discovering, is often far more complex and surprising than our neatest theories might suggest. A new discovery was about to challenge everything. The story began to change with a remarkable find. In ancient rock formations, paleontologists unearthed a collection of fossilized fish. These were not just any fossils. They were exceptionally well-preserved specimens of a creature now called Unveiled. These fish lived around 75 million years ago, during the age of dinosaurs. Crucially, these fossils contained the delicate and rarely preserved bones of the Weberian apparatus. It was a discovery of immense importance. Finding these tiny structures, some of the smallest bones in the fish skeleton, perfectly fossilized after millions of years, was like finding a needle in a geological haystack. Upon closer examination, these ancient ear bones revealed a startling truth. The Weberian apparatus of Unveiled was not fully formed. It was in a primitive or early stage of its evolutionary development. The bones were present, but they were not as refined or as complex as those seen in modern freshwater fish. This was a direct contradiction to the old theory. If the advanced hearing system had been perfected in the ocean, these fossils should have shown a fully developed apparatus. Instead, they showed a work in progress, a snapshot of evolution caught in the act of experimenting with a new design. This discovery turned the old idea on its head. It suggested that the ancestors of modern freshwater fish did not arrive in rivers and lakes already equipped with superhearing. Instead, they likely entered these new environments with a much simpler auditory system. The complex and highly sensitive Weberian apparatus, it now seemed, was not an oceanic invention at all. It was an adaptation that evolved and was refined after these fish had already made the monumental transition from saltwater to freshwater. The move into the rivers was not the end of the story, but the very beginning of this evolutionary journey. The implications were profound. Rather than a single group of well-prepared invaders, the fossil evidence painted a picture of a more gradual and challenging transition. These early pioneers may have struggled at first, entering a world for which they were not perfectly suited. The development of superior hearing was not the ticket that gained them entry, but rather the key to their long-term survival and eventual domination once they were there. The freshwater environment itself, with all its unique sounds and dangers, was the driving force, the crucible in which this incredible hearing system was forged over millions of years of evolutionary pressure. To understand what these ancient fish could actually hear, scientists turned to powerful modern technology. They couldn't listen to the fish directly, of course, but they could do the next best thing. Using high-resolution CT scanners, the same kind of technology used in hospitals to see inside the human body, they created incredibly detailed, three-dimensional digital models of the fossilized skulls and ear bones of Unveiled. This process allowed them to reconstruct the anatomy of an animal that had been extinct for 75 million years with astonishing accuracy, without ever damaging the precious fossil itself. With these digital blueprints in hand, the researchers then employed a technique called finite element analysis. This is a computer simulation method often used by engineers to test the strength and performance of bridges or airplane parts. In this case, they used it to model how sound waves would have interacted with the fish's primitive Weberian apparatus. By simulating vibrations passing through the digital model of the swim bladder and along the chain of tiny bones, they could estimate the range of frequencies and the sensitivity of the fish's hearing. It was a form of digital time travel, allowing them to listen to the world through the ears of an ancient creature. The results of these simulations were fascinating. They confirmed what the shape of the bones suggested. Unveiled could hear better than fish without a Weberian apparatus, but its hearing was nowhere near as sensitive as that of its modern relatives. The computer models showed that its auditory system was best at detecting lower frequency sounds. It was an intermediate step, a system that provided a clear benefit but still had significant room for improvement. This technological approach provided strong, quantifiable evidence that supported the physical observations from the fossils themselves, bridging the gap between ancient bone and living function. This combination of old-fashioned fossil hunting and cutting-edge digital analysis represents a new frontier in paleontology. It allows us to ask questions that were once impossible to answer. We are no longer limited to just describing the shape of a bone. We can now begin to realistically model its function and understand how an ancient animal perceived its world. By recreating the sensory experience of an animal like Unveiled, we gain a much deeper appreciation for the gradual, step-by-step process of evolution and the specific environmental pressures that guided on its path. So, why is having such sensitive hearing so important for a fish living in a river or a lake? Freshwater environments are often very different from the open ocean. The water can be murky, filled with sediment, making vision a less reliable sense. Rivers are also full of sounds: the gurgle of water over rocks, the splash of a predator, the subtle movements of prey hiding among plants, or even the sound of falling fruit hitting the water's surface. Being able to detect and interpret these sounds provides a huge survival advantage. It is an early warning system against danger and a vital tool for finding food. For these early freshwater pioneers, an enhanced sense of hearing would have opened up a new world of opportunity. It would have allowed them to be more active at dawn, at dusk, or in cloudy water where sight is limited. They could detect the approach of a hungry predator, like a larger fish or a wading reptile, from farther away, giving them precious extra seconds to escape. At the same time, they could eavesdrop on the subtle sounds made by the insects, crustaceans, and other small creatures they fed upon. This sensory edge would have enabled them to outcompete other fish and exploit resources that were otherwise unavailable. The journey of the Unveiled fish is therefore a more compelling and dynamic story than we first thought. It is not a tale of a single, triumphant invasion, but one of resilience and adaptation in the face of new challenges. The ancestors of these fish bravely entered a new world, and over countless generations, that world shaped them. The very pressures of river life, the murkiness, the complex soundscape, the constant threat of predation, drove the evolution of one of nature's most sophisticated hearing systems. The Weberian apparatus is a testament to the power of the environment to mold life in remarkable ways. In the end, this discovery fundamentally changes our understanding of freshwater biodiversity. It shows that major evolutionary innovations can happen in response to, rather than in preparation for, a major environmental shift. The story of freshwater fish is a powerful reminder that evolution is not a planned march towards perfection, but a responsive dance with the ever-changing conditions of our planet. And it highlights how a few tiny fossilized bones, analyzed with the help of modern technology, can completely rewrite a major chapter in the grand story of life on Earth.